The Knicks just found out exactly how brutal defending a championship is actually going to be, tied for the most nationally televised games in the entire league, and facing a legitimate gauntlet of contenders right out of the gate. I've gone through every detail of this newly released schedule, the toughest stretches New York is going to face, and exactly why this year feels completely different from every other season in recent memory. Every date, every opponent, every angle. Let's break it all down right now. So before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, because this schedule genuinely doesn't ease this team into anything. Let's start with the headline number, because it says everything about how much attention this team is going to receive all season long. As of this past Thursday at 3 o'clock, the Knicks officially have their marching orders, an 82-game regular season slate serving as the road to actually repeating as champions in 2027. New York is in a four-way tie with the Philadelphia 76ers, San Antonio Spurs, and Los Angeles Lakers for the maximum allowable 34 nationally televised games this coming season. That's a genuinely staggering number, and it reflects exactly the kind of attention a defending champion with this much star power naturally attracts from national broadcast partners. Being grouped alongside the Spurs, the Lakers, and Philadelphia specifically shows just how much star wattage and genuine national interest surrounds this exact group of four teams heading into the new season. The tone of this entire season is already genuinely different too, and everyone within the organization understands it. Last season's title and its ensuing parade is now old news. Training camp is officially around the corner, and schedule makers have cemented the journey New York will embark on. Only this time, they aren't the hunters. The Knicks are going to be the hunted, and there's going to be a genuine target on their backs beginning on day one of the actual regular season. It's a fundamentally different psychological challenge than anything this roster faced last year, when they entered every game with genuinely low external expectations and could simply play with real freedom rather than carrying the weight of defending an actual title. That target shows up immediately in the schedule too. It's Sixers, Celtics, Magic, Pistons, a new-look Bulls team, and then the Sixers again, straight out of the gate for the reigning, defending NBA champions. Think about that opening stretch for a second. New York will need to shake off any lingering championship hangover almost immediately, because they'll host LeBron James and a genuinely revamped Sixers team specifically angling for their throne on ring night, before quickly traveling to Boston to face Jason Tatum and Mitchell Robinson in a genuine rivalry matchup against the Celtics. That's about as difficult a start to a title defense as any recent champion has had to navigate. Very few teams in recent NBA history have opened a championship defense with this level of immediate, top-tier competition packed into the very first handful of games. It doesn't get any easier once that opening stretch actually wraps up either. Later in the season, New York faces another brutal stretch of 10 different playoff opponents packed into the span of just 11 total games. The Eastern Conference has genuinely improved across the board this offseason, and as a direct result, so has the difficulty level of the Knicks' own schedule. There is at least one small silver lining buried in that specific stretch, though. New York will play 9 of those 11 games at home, giving them at least a real home court advantage throughout most of that particularly demanding run. Packing 10 playoff caliber opponents into just 11 games, even with that home court cushion, is exactly the kind of stretch that can genuinely reveal whether a roster's depth and continuity can hold up under sustained, top-tier pressure. There's also a genuinely interesting preseason wrinkle worth understanding too, since New York's exhibition slate this year is loaded with real, meaningful measuring stick opponents rather than simple throwaway tune-up games. The Knicks will tune up against 3 potential playoff opponents during their entire 2026 preseason slate. The Washington Wizards have been genuinely reimagined with All-Stars Trae Young and Anthony Davis alongside this year's #1 overall pick, Jay DeBonsa, giving New York a real, competitive look at a suddenly dangerous roster. And with or without Kawhi Leonard healthy, the Toronto Raptors remain a formidable Eastern Conference opponent too, even though the Knicks have actually won 13 straight games in a row against their division rivals to the north. Facing that level of real, playoff-caliber competition, even during meaningless exhibition games, shows just how much this preseason slate has shifted away from the typical throwaway tune-up format most teams settle for. That preseason schedule is already partially confirmed too. New York will face the Raptors twice during the actual preseason, with Toronto having already announced its own full schedule. There's also real ongoing speculation about a possible preseason matchup against LeBron James and the Sixers as well, given just how big a deal his arrival in Philadelphia has already become around the league. It would genuinely make sense for the NBA to want these two teams squaring off before the regular season even begins, especially given how heavily rumored LeBron's own interest in signing with New York itself had been just months earlier. The two teams actually played each other twice during last year's preseason too, suggesting a real appetite from both organizations to simply run that exact same matchup back again this year. Step back and look at the complete picture here, and this entire schedule reflects a genuinely fitting challenge for a franchise that just delivered its first championship in 53 years. Every marquee opponent wants a shot at the champs. Every national broadcast wants to feature this roster as often as possible. And the schedule makers have clearly leaned all the way into that demand by giving New York the maximum number of nationally televised appearances the league allows. It's the kind of season-long gauntlet that will genuinely test whether this roster's continuity and chemistry can actually hold up against a full year of being the team everyone else is specifically trying to knock off. So here's where everything stands. The Knicks enter this coming season tied for the most nationally televised games in the entire NBA, facing a genuinely brutal opening stretch against Philadelphia, Boston, Orlando, Detroit, and Chicago, before an even tougher run of 10 playoff opponents packed into just 11 games later in the season. Add in a loaded preseason slate against genuine measuring stick opponents like Washington and Toronto, and this entire year is shaping up to be one of the most demanding, closely watched seasons in recent Knicks history. So tell me what you think. Do you think this Knicks roster is built to handle being the hunted for an entire season? Or do you worry about how they'll respond to this much national attention and a schedule this difficult? And which specific stretch of the schedule are you most looking forward to watching? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you catch every update as it happens. I'll be back soon with more Knicks news.